Yeah, I get it. We all hate Blizzard right now, and for good reason. I think it's fair to say that whatever poor reputation Blizzard has right now, they've earned it. From the mismanagement and then failure of Overwatch and its ill-fated sequel, to the abject greed that is Diablo Immortal.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
And the profound laziness that is represented by Warcraft Reforged. Diablo 4 was well received, but only time will tell whether or not the game remains in the good graces of the public. So far from what I'm seeing, doesn't seem to be panning out that way, does it? And of course, there's the elephant in the room, the one franchise and the one game that really caused them to blow up big time. World of Warcraft. Now, whether or not World of Warcraft is in a good state right now, I guess depends on what you think of MMORPGs in general, but if you're anything like me and you prefer the older days of MMORPGs, you can probably kind of maybe not really enjoy what that game has done to the genre as a whole. And I know that all of these things that I'm saying to you right now are not exactly new or hot takes or controversial or anything. It's all old news. Blizzard just ain't who they used to be. And as a longtime fan and as somebody who would at one point say that Blizzard was their favorite video game company, kind of breaks my bald little heart a little bit. And despite all these things, I still find myself gravitating towards games from my past that were made by Blizzard. WoW Classic was a very good example, at least for a while. But more than that, what I loved and appreciated Blizzard for the most wasn't the Overwatches or the World of Warcrafts. It was their RTS games, a genre that most people think is pretty dead by now. At least Blizzard definitely thinks it's dead right now because Starcraft 2, their most recent and most popular RTS, it's not being updated anymore, and that's too bad because it's a good game. Earlier this year, Tears of the Kingdom was about to be released, a game that was highly anticipated by not only myself, but most of the gaming industry at large. But right before that came out, I got this urge, this just unbearable urge to play an old Blizzard RTS again. So I booted up Starcraft 2, and I started up my favorite campaign out of the 3 Starcraft 2 campaigns, Heart of the Swarm. Not because it's the best campaign, just because I'm a Zerg player. I'm a dirty little Zerg player. I started that probably a couple days to a week before Tears of the Kingdom was released, and then Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I played more. Instead of playing Zelda, the new, hotly anticipated game, I stopped playing that so I could play this 10 to 15-year-old video game. Okay, that's weird. It's not an indictment on Tears of the Kingdom or anything. That's just the kind of mood I was in. And I hope that many of you can sympathize with this feeling. Sometimes you just want to play the game that you know that you love, and you just do that. And then somehow that game just grabs onto your soul and it doesn't let go. And that's what happened to me. So what's interesting is that when I finally beat that Heart of the Swarm campaign and dove into Tears of the Kingdom and, got my time in there, I felt like I still wasn't done with StarCraft 2, which is weird. Usually I go in, I play my campaign, I satisfy that craving, and then I move on with my life, like a normal person. But instead, I got this idea. See, there's this pretty innovative game mode in StarCraft 2 called co-op. Now, real-time strategy games aren't exactly known for their co-op. They're mostly 1v1 experiences or campaign-based experiences. And there's a problem with that. 1v1 is extremely intimidating to get into, and it's so competitive that if you don't really know what you're doing, you might not even have fun. And then the problem with the campaigns is you can only play a campaign so many times before you've worn it out. At least until you get that craving again a year or two later. But a while ago, around the time that the 3rd campaign for StarCraft 2 is finally released, Blizzard tried an experiment. The StarCraft 2 team decided that they were going to put in some sort of weird cooperative commanders co-op gameplay mode It was very unusual, and I remember trying it back in the day whenever it was released and not being too impressed with it. But at that point, I was just kind of on my way out of Starcraft 2 as like the game that I play all the time anyway, so it's not surprising. But now, in 2023, even though it hasn't been updated for like 2 or 3 years now, it's evolved so much that it's pretty much unrecognizable from the times that I tried it before. So I called up my friend on Discord and I asked him, hey, I still want to play StarCraft 2. Do you want to try this co-op commanders thing with me? That was a mistake. So we spent dozens and dozens of hours over the next few weeks just playing that co-op stuff. See, what makes this game mode so brilliant is that it takes what was good about the campaign, like these overpowered units, these overpowered abilities, these overpowered hero units, and then it lets you choose between a bunch of different commanders and builds and play styles. And then you go into a map supported by somebody who may or may not know the game as well as you, and you just have fun tackling the game's challenges. I know that just sounds like any other old video game on the market, but you gotta remember, this is an RTS, something that's not particularly known for its longevity or replay value outside of being the ultra-competitive, hyper-sweaty nerd that I was at some point, and maybe still am, I don't know. But not only that, Blizzard seems to have absolutely perfected the dopamine mine that is video games, and there's also like level ups, prestige talents, so you can level up your hero again for a brand new playstyle for that hero if it's one of your favorite heroes or if it's offering a playstyle that you want. Look, I know it sounds like a lot, and it is, but the beauty of it is there is no stress in this environment. You queue up for a match for the difficulty that you are comfortable with a hero that you want to play, and you just play. You have fun, and you're not alone with it. So like you're cooperating with somebody, and that just kind of makes it a lot more approachable in the first place. But here's the thing. This is something that the genre, the real-time strategy genre, has been missing for pretty much its entire life up until this point. This is the perfect game mode to where if you are an RTS fan, you can just grab one of your friends and be like, hey, do you want to play some StarCraft with me? It's got this really good cooperative game mode that I think you're really going to have a lot of fun with. And there's no pressure, there's no stress. I can walk you through it, I can help you with everything that you're trying to do, and we can just have fun playing the game together, and I can introduce you to one of my favorite games of all time in a stress-free environment where I don't have to completely trounce you in 1v1 with my superior macro play. And on top of that, if all of that wasn't enough, Blizzard, in a very non-greedy move for them, at least in current year, they made Wings of Liberty and the base StarCraft 2 competitive experience and the base StarCraft 2 cooperative experience, Wings of Liberty being the first campaign out of 3, which is worth like 10 plus hours of play time on its own, which is brilliant. Whatever. They made all these things completely free to play. You have the entirety of the arcade. You have the entirety of the first campaign focusing on the Terrans. You have the entirety, well, whatever's unlocked of co-op, including playing all the heroes that you don't start with for free up to level 5 out of 15, and you start with 3 free heroes. I can't stress enough how important a cooperative, stress-free environment is to introducing friends to one of your favorite games or genres. I'm sure a lot of you who are fans of like Smite or League of Legends or Dota have a hard time getting your friends in if they weren't in on the ground floor. Those games are very hard, and there's a lot to learn and a lot to figure out. And at this point, like, I can't really blame anybody for not wanting to get into a game like that, you know? It's a lot. It's a lot. In all honesty, the only reason that I'm making this video is because over the past few months now, even with the release of Baldur's Gate 3, and as incredible as that game is, I'm still playing StarCraft 2. I'm still completely obsessed with the game. I'm watching a lot of like StarCraft 2 content creators going through custom campaigns, playing co-op together, doing co-op challenges, just doing StarCraft things because I, for some ungodly reason, cannot get enough of the game. And I guess it makes sense. I was practically raised on the Warcraft and Starcraft franchises. I remember being in my dad's apartment and just putting the floppy disks into the disk drive one after another as I was installing at 8 or 9 years old, Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2. And then finally the install would finish when you press the sound check button and you hear that magical sound. Your sound card works perfectly. It's burned into my brain. Blizzard, at least who they used to be, and the games that they created in the past, mean a lot to me. And in my opinion, StarCraft 2 is the end of that era, and you can kind of see if you go through and play Wings of Liberty, then Heart of the Swarm, and then Legacy of the Void, just based on the writing styles of those campaigns and the way the characters interact with each other, you can tell that the old guard of Blizzard was leaving during the entire development of all of that. And then by the time Legacy of the Void came out, it felt like a shadow of its former self. The writing was not nearly as good. As I played through all three of the campaigns more recently, I could kind of see their decline. It breaks my bald little heart. And even with the decline of the quality of the campaigns, StarCraft 2 still to me represents the last hurrah of old Blizzard. It's very unlikely that we'll ever see another RTS from who once was the king of real-time strategy. The company that completely changed the game and innovated the genre in a way that was refreshing and fun and memorable. I know you Age of Empires and Age of Mythology fans are probably frothing at the mouth trying to correct me about who did it better or who did it first, but to me, that was Blizzard. But now, I don't know, it seems like RTS is dead or dying. But is it really? In the midst of my obsession while I was watching StarCraft 2 and playing StarCraft 2 and discovering StarCraft 2 creators like Loco and CTG and Giant Grant Games, I discovered something. The real-time strategy genre, it's not dead. It's just in a period of stagnation. Just as Blizzard has stagnated, just as Microsoft itself has stagnated since they own the Age of Empires franchise, as far as I know, there hasn't been anything to dethrone the popular games in the genre. And with Blizzard only caring about billion-dollar projects and probably not seeing enough money in the StarCraft franchise and are probably just willing to let the whole thing die, the independent creators are starting to rise up. Through these content creators, I discovered 2 games that look really promising for the franchise, and there's probably a handful more that could go all the way and finally dethrone StarCraft 2. The first game that I found out about is called Stormgate. Now, what makes this one so special is that the company is founded by the StarCraft 2 team, or at least a lot of the StarCraft 2 team that left Blizzard. Whether the StarCraft 2 team left because they were sick of Blizzard as they were in that moment, or because they were trying to get moved to a different team because StarCraft 2 was being sunsetted, or because StarCraft 2 was sunsetted. Either way, they left Blizzard and they founded their own company to create a new real-time strategy in the vein of StarCraft and Warcraft, but, wholly unique. And what really got me looking into this game, aside from the content creators talking about it, is the fact that I was, and still frankly am, still pretty obsessed with StarCraft 2's co-op mode. And what's great for Stormgate specifically, the lead co-op designer from StarCraft 2 is on the Stormgate team. So they're going to take all the ideas that worked from StarCraft 2 and they're going to port them over to Stormgate. And not only that, they're going to evolve on it. They're going to continue developing it. They're going to, do everything that they ever wanted with the game that Blizzard, probably the producers or whatever, wouldn't allow them to do because there wasn't enough money in it. And that's super exciting. Now the game, as far as I can tell, is at the point of recording this video, only in pre-alpha. It's in a very early state, and it's probably going to be a few years yet before we can even see the game or play the game ourselves. And as far as I can tell, this next game that I'm about to talk about is in a very similar position. Now, they're not spearheaded by a bunch of ex-Blizzard employees, but from what they've shown, and from what they've talked about, they seem to have an extremely competent team behind them themselves. This game is called ZeroSpace. And full disclosure, the only reason that I know about this game is because Giant Grant Games, one of the content creators that I've been watching a lot because he does a lot of custom campaigns and he's really good at the game and he's very infectiously positive. He's the lead campaign designer and he talks about the game a decent amount. And he's done some gameplay reveals and he's talked about the multiple different factions and some of their design philosophies around the game. So they're also going to have a unique cooperative experience, and there's also going to be a lot of customization and skill expression and player expression just kind of baked in to the core design of the game. And that's also really exciting. Both of these games seem to have extremely big plans for the future of their respective titles, and if either one of these is the game that finally dethrones the Age of Empires' and the Starcrafts' and the Warcrafts', then awesome! Starcraft 2 needs to die. Frankly, as much as I love the game, Blizzard can't be trusted. So just let it go, man. If one of these two games can completely dethrone that game, that would be so cool. Then we can have a new game, or even two new games, that are passionately developed by a company that knows real-time strategy games, that loves real-time strategy games, and loves the ideas that they have, and aren't just about the dollar. These guys have the potential to not just reinvent the real-time strategy genre, but to revive it. A prospect that I think is incredibly exciting as somebody who grew up on the genre. Now, let me be clear. I don't like the games because I'm good at them. Look at my rating. I know it looks impressive if you don't know the rating system, but it's still pretty low. I'm pretty awful competitively, but that doesn't stop me from having fun. Blizzard used to be the king of RTS. They used to be the king of a lot of things. They were so good at innovating whatever genre that they decided to push themselves into and create a success story out of it. That's why so many people love and remember Warcraft. That's why so many people love and remember Starcraft. And that's why World of Warcraft is as successful as it is today. But that success for a large publicly traded company often comes at a price. And that price is often the passion and the creativity and the innovation and the risk-taking that made them popular in the first place. Blizzard just ain't who they used to be. They're all about that dollar now, the almighty dollar. And well, I guess this video, in addition to a few other things, is kind of my goodbye to respecting the company. I'm still going to be playing their games. I'm still going to be playing Starcraft 2. I'm probably going to try out that survival game, but I don't think they can ever regain my favor as favorite game developer. And that makes me sad. It makes me real sad. But you know what they say, with every dark cloud comes a silver lining, and that silver lining is these independent game developers creating the future of the genre that made Blizzard so great in the first place. Where Blizzard seems to have forgotten its roots, these new game developers haven't. It just so happens that their roots happen to be in Blizzard's old games, and they're going to be the ones to drive everything forward. Anyway, that about wraps up the video, and I want to finish it off by saying that if you've never played a real-time strategy game before, or if you've wanted to and just haven't really found the justification for spending any money on it or something like that, go and download Wings of Liberty, the StarCraft 2 campaign that's free to play. The entire first campaign is free to play. You get a pretty succinct story, and then if you enjoy it, you can give Blizzard money if you really want to play the next ones. And on top of that, you can find a friend to try the co-op experience with. It's a lot of fun. And by playing that, you might start to get an idea of what the cooperative experience is going to be in these new games, and why I think this cooperative gameplay for a real-time strategy is so engaging and so brilliant, and why it's so sad that Blizzard just let it die half-baked. And if the co-op experience is something that you find you really enjoy, if you wanted to play a new commander, they're only $5 a piece, which, as far as microtransactions money spending goes, is incredibly cheap for as much as you get in a single commander. And you can always try them up to level 5 for free. Anyway, this video's kind of been all over the place. Hopefully you enjoyed it regardless. And if you've made it this far in the video, I want to hear from you guys. What's your experience with real-time strategy games? Did you even know about the genre before this video? How much have you played? Which one's your favorite? Do you plan on trying Wings of Liberty? And if you do, let me know what you think. I think it's really fun, and I would love to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. But yeah, that'll do it. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.